Let me paint you a picture. You've got a quarterback, young, hungry, insanely gifted. A kid who walks into training camp and starts putting on a masterclass like he's been in the league 5 years. Okay, he's out there torching first string. Defenses throwing lasers into tight windows, commanding the offense like a veteran field general. Coaches are watching. Players are watching. The whole locker room can feel it. And yet, despite all of that, he doesn't take a single rep with the starters. That's not just odd. That's insane. But this is the story unfolding right now in Cleveland. This is what's happening with Shedeur Sanders. And trust me, it's not just a football story. It's a power struggle. It's a political minefield. A potential franchise-altering mistake unraveling in real time. Let's break it down. The Cleveland Browns, believe it or not, have struck gold. Not metaphorically. I'm talking about the kind of quarterback talent that teams spend years praying for. And the crazy part, he fell into their lap in the 5th round. Shedeur Sanders, coach's son, born in the game, built for the moment, while most teams passed on him. While the experts nitpicked every inch of his game, Browns GM Andrew Berry saw something. He saw the mental toughness, the composure, the icy calm in pressure situations. He saw a quarterback who had been battle-tested under the brightest lights in college and still delivered. Berry made the call. He pulled the trigger, but here's the catch. That pick, that vision, that belief in Shedeur Sanders. It wasn't shared by everyone in the building, and that's where the fracture began, because Jimmy Haslam, the man at the top, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, was never fully on board. From what I'm hearing, Haslam didn't see a future starter. He saw a backup, a roll of the dice, a body for training camp. He didn't see what Berry saw. And now that Sanders is proving it on the field, proving it every single day of camp, Haslam isn't adjusting. He's doubling down. He's shopping the kid. Let me repeat that. The best quarterback in Browns camp right now is being dangled on the trade block now. I know what you're thinking. It can't be that bad, right? Let's talk numbers. Let's talk performance. Shedeur Sanders is leading the entire Browns quarterback room in completion percentage. He's thrown the most touchdowns. He has the best passer rating, the most consistent accuracy in live reps, the cleanest footwork, the most decisive reads, and yet, not one first-team snap, not in red zone drills, not in 2-minute scenarios, not even in garbage time rotations. He's stuck running with the backups, torching second-team defenders while quarterbacks with worse numbers and slower reactions take the main stage. If this sounds like madness, that's because it is. This isn't about talent anymore. It's about turf. It's about who gets to make the decisions. And Shedeur Sanders, as good as he's been, has become the collateral damage in a battle between Andrew Berry's vision and Jimmy Haslam's authority. But the league is watching, and there's one team that sees exactly what's happening. And they're ready to pounce. The New Orleans Saints. Now let me take you down south for a minute, because things in New Orleans, they're falling apart at the seams. Derek Carr retired, out of nowhere, no warning, just walked, left a crater-sized hole in the middle of their offense. And with no plan B, the Saints panicked. They reached in the 2nd round for Tyler Shaw, a kid with raw tools but zero polish. The pick screamed desperation, and it's showing. We're only a few days into training camp, and Shaw is already floundering. His footwork is sloppy. His mechanics are all over the place. His decision-making, let's just say there were peewee quarterbacks last week with better red zone vision. A local reporter, I swear to you, wrote the words, "worst 2-minute drill in NFL history." That's not my spin. That's the actual headline. The Saints are desperate. Their playoff hopes are dimming. And now, with Sanders potentially available, they're circling. Quietly, aggressively, like sharks in the water. Meanwhile, back in Cleveland, Shedeur isn't just holding his own, he's making defenders look silly. Just a few days ago, he went 9-for-9 with 2 touchdowns against the Browns' starting defense. You heard that right. The starting defense. The ones with NFL paychecks and Pro Bowl appearances. Guys who make a living disrupting quarterbacks, and he diced them up like a surgeon. Veteran players. Ones who've been around long enough to know talent when they see it were shaking their heads, laughing. Not because it was funny, because it was unreal. Even former Pro Bowl DB Asante Samuel had to speak up. He jumped on social media and said what everyone was thinking. The Saints better make that deal now. That's not a hot take. That's a warning, because once that door opens, once Sanders is gone, there's no undoing it. And here's what makes this story so damn frustrating. When the Browns drafted Shedeur Sanders, fans assumed the building was aligned. The GM, the scouts, the owner, all working from the same blueprint. If you don't draft a high-Q, battle-tested leader like Shedeur if you're not planning to give him a shot. But behind the scenes, it was never unanimous. That was Barry's move, Barry's belief. And Haslam, he was never on board. And now instead of standing behind his GM, instead of saying, let the kid prove himself, Haslam is pulling rank, dangling Sanders like trade bait, making it painfully clear that no matter what happens on the field, the final call will always come from the top floor, even if it costs them everything. Let's keep it real. Sanders is outplaying everyone on that roster. Joe Flacco slower, older, less mobile. Dylan Gabriel has been up and down, struggling with timing, struggling with command. Kenny Pickett still not 100% healthy, still not showing the burst you want in a starter, and yet those are the guys getting the opportunities. Those are the names being thrown around in first-team rotations. Shedeur, he's still out there grinding with the twos, outperforming his peers, outworking everyone, and still not getting a seat at the table. Why? Politics. This isn't about who's best anymore. This is about who gets to be right. And that right there, that ego trip, is how franchises implode. Let me end with this. If this were any other team, if Shedeur Sanders had walked into a situation where performance dictated opportunity, he might already be a starter. But instead, he's caught in a storm of front office dysfunction, a civil war in a building where logic has left the room. And if the Browns don't wake up soon, if they let this kid walk, they're not just losing a quarterback, they're handing away their future. And some other team, maybe the Saints, maybe someone else will be there to collect the pieces, and they'll be laughing all the way to the playoffs. Every single day the Cleveland Browns keep Shedeur Sanders stashed at the bottom of the depth chart is another day they flirt with throwing away the best shot at greatness this franchise has had in years. And I'm not saying that to stir the pot. I'm not chasing headlines or looking for viral outrage. I listen to the whispers inside the building, and what I see is a franchise holding a lightning bolt in their hands. Not garbage time handoffs. I mean, a real shot with the first team. Then they need to stop pretending like this is a slow burn development project. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't some long-term maybe, he's not a just-in case, he's a right-now quarterback. And if they don't want to unleash him, then they better do the right thing and send him to a team that will dot. And there is one team that's screaming for him louder than the rest. One franchise that isn't just in trouble, they're gasping for air. I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints. That team is drowning in panic right now. Ever since Derek Carr announced his retirement, the whole building has been spiraling. They didn't just lose their quarterback, they lost their compass and their response. Drafting Tyler Shaw in the second round and trying to convince the world they found the next big thing. Let me be clear, I've got nothing personal against Shaw, but I've watched the tape. Not raw, not developing. Lost, he's sailing routine throws. That 2-minute drill from last week, reporters called it the worst they've ever seen in Saints training camp history. That's not just bad, that's catastrophic. It's the guy they're hanging their season on while Shedeur Sanders collects dust in Cleveland. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. The Saints don't just need a quarterback, they need a pulse, a spark. Someone who can walk into that building and immediately shift the energy. Someone with swagger, with command, with presence. Who can wake up a fan base that's been sleepwalking since Breeze left. They don't need a band-aid. They need a blood transfusion. And Shedeur is that guy. He's not a backup. He's not a fill-in. He's not a break glass in case of emergency plan. He's a franchise quarterback in waiting. And right now, he's being treated like a collectible card you keep in the case, instead of playing the game. But here's where it gets interesting and real. Browns owner Jimmy Haslam confirmed. Trade talks are happening. This isn't smoke. This isn't some wild Reddit rumor. It's happening. And if you're New Orleans, that door you were praying might open just swung wide. You already passed on Shedeur in the draft multiple times. You watched him fall round after round, too scared to take the swing, while Cleveland finally stepped in and grabbed him in the 5th. And even in Cleveland, that wasn't a clean decision. That pick came from GM Andrew Berry, a man who saw the value, who saw what this kid could be. But Haslam, he wasn't beating the table for Shedeur. He wasn't the one yelling, "We found our future." And in this league, that matters. When the guy cutting the checks doesn't believe in you from day one, you start your journey at a disadvantage. You've got to win every rep, every conversation, every meeting, just to earn what others get by default. And yet, Shedeur Sanders has done exactly that. Go look at Brown's camp. Look at the footage. Look at the stats. He's been the most accurate quarterback on that field. He's been the calmest under pressure. He's been the one growing week by week, session by session, drill by drill. It doesn't matter who you line up. Shedeur outshines them. But still, no real first-team reps. Still no meaningful shot to claim the job. So I'm asking again, what are we doing here? Are the Browns trying to win? Or are they just collecting talent they're too afraid to use? Because the clock is ticking. And if they're not going to commit to this kid, they need to trade him. 7th round flyer? No, right now, Shedeur's value is sky high. They have the draft picks, they have the weapons, and they're sitting in a division that's wide open. They're desperate to fix the mistake they made on draft day. And this is their chance. This is the kind of deal that rewrites the future for two organizations. Cleveland could ask for a haul, a starter, a high pick, future flexibility, whatever they want. If Haslam really doesn't see Shedeur as his guy, this is the moment to act. Don't drag it out. Don't stall. Don't waste this kid's prime sitting behind aging, inconsistent quarterbacks while fans beg for change. Make the move. Let him go somewhere where he's wanted, where he's valued, where he can take the field and build his own legacy. Because if the Browns keep sitting him, that's not development. That's sabotage. And this isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started. There's a storm brewing inside the Browns building. This is going to explode into a full-blown power struggle. And in the NFL, when that happens, teams freeze. Opportunities vanish. But there's one more twist to all of this, and it's coming fast. Preseason is right around the corner, and if Shedeur Sanders steps onto that field and lights it up, against real defenders, that phone in Berea is going to ring nonstop. Every throw he makes is going to raise his value. Every touchdown is going to make it harder for Cleveland to justify keeping him on the bench. That's the paradox there. Walking into the better he plays, the more irreplaceable he becomes, and the more both sides want to claim him. So here's the decision. You hold on to him and let him rot behind guys who aren't your future? That's the kind of call that defines a franchise for the next. He's a pro-ready, composed, battle-tested quarterback who's already shown he belongs. And the fact that we're talking about trading him before he's had one real opportunity to prove it on the field, that's not just short-sighted, it's insanity. But that's where we are. The Saints have the need. Shedeur has the tools. One way leads to regret, the other might just lead to greatness, so now I turn it over to you. If Cleveland isn't going to hand him the keys, is it time to let him walk? Should they cash in now, send him to New Orleans, and finally give this kid the chance to write his NFL story on his own terms? Because make no mistake, his time is coming. The only question left is where, if you're fired up like I am, drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe, because we've got stories like this coming all season long.